Ever since I was a kid, I used to go around telling people that the house where I grew up, my parents' house, was surrounded by fairies and protected by them. And it was enchanted or stuff like this. And I would get two types of reactions. Either people would be like, that's not true, what are you talking about? And sometimes people will go like, oh my God, really? That's so cute. And then turn to my mother and be like, either way, I don't know why I would do that. I really felt like my home had magical powers or something like this. I was obsessed with anything magical at the time. And but here's the thing, I never saw fairies or anything like it. I did hear some stuff, but now that I think about it, they didn't sound like fairies. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Eri and this is Mist-Eri-land, the English version. If I look familiar, it's probably because you are Albanian or you speak Albanian and you've seen already my Albanian channel. So if you are Albanian, what are you doing here? Just go and check out my other channel, don't worry. These stories are probably the ones that I already shared there, but I thought my stories are way too creepy for me to limit them to one language only. So I'm gonna make a channel in English and share them with the world. So there's gonna be a few videos at the beginning that I will share, in which I will share my terrifying experiences with the paranormal. Most of them started when I was a kid. And this is the thing, I always thought of it like, oh, probably there was a logical explanation, but since I was a kid, I didn't know better, so I just thought it's paranormal. But some of them happened now as an adult, so yeah, I'll let you decide. If you like this type of videos, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, comment. Please don't comment on my accent. I know it's not good. Because I'm self-taught. Okay, that's a lie. I actually studied English in high school, but I already spoke English before I started high school. Anyways, let's dive into the stories. Now, this is probably the first creepy experience that I had where I heard stuff. My room's window faced the backyard, and the backyard was pretty big. And then there were these beautiful hills that surrounded the entire village, actually. I grew up in the countryside, so I was surrounded by nature, and for some reason, maybe this is why I went around telling people that my house is enchanted, because I always found nature very enchanting and magical, and in my head as a kid, I thought it's beautiful and there's no way it's real, it must be magical. Or I just had issues. Believe what you want. Anyways, the window faced the backyard. The hills, they were beautiful during the day, especially during summer, because they were this green, beautiful color. And then during the night, they were terrifying, because obviously it's wild. So there's no houses, there's no lights. I would have nightmares of lava falling over these hills and killing us all. It didn't happen. So one night, I was around like 9 or 10 years old. It was after sunset, and I started hearing these voices coming from right under my window. Now, as a kid, obviously, I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe animals, little animals, were making these noises. Now, these voices, if I describe them to you, it sounded like it wasn't just one voice. It was many voices, like 2 or 3 voices. Like they sound like they're screaming. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, like screaming coming from right under my window. And me as a kid, I just went there to look. Like I said, it was after the sunset, but there was still some lights, so you would see if there was someone or something under my window. So I go there, I open the window, I look down, and I see nothing. But I could still hear the voices coming from right under the window. And right at that moment, it hit me. This is not normal. Girl, what are you doing? Like, run, do something. Don't just stand there staring at nothing. But I can still hear the voices coming from that angle, from that part of the, what's it called? Of the backyard. But I just closed the window and pretend like nothing happened and went about my night. Now, I don't remember if it was the same night or the next night, but I heard the voices again. And this was not after the sunset. This was like after midnight at this point. I was asleep and I was woken up by the voices. It was more than the first time. If the first time I heard 2 or 3 voices together, this time it was like, at this point, more than 10 voices. Obviously in your head, I've always been like this. I always try to justify it. I always try to find a reason to justify it. But like, let's be honest, in this case, how are you going to justify it? A lot of things crossed my mind. Obviously, the first thing I did was went straight to my mom. But my mom is the type of person that she thinks if she pretends like it's not real, then it means that it's not real. Yeah, she does that a lot. So she obviously told me that it was not real, and maybe it was just dogs. It's mating season, maybe it's just dogs looking for a partner. But obviously, they did sound like dogs. And while the voices were going, I could hear the dogs of the neighborhood barking like crazy. So no, they're definitely not dogs. Also, something very weird that happened, that this is why I didn't believe they were animals, is because you could hear the voices at some point, like right under the window, and not even 2 seconds later, the same voices, you would hear them 1 kilometer away. So like, it makes no sense. I don't know how fast an animal can be, but I don't think they can be so fast to the point of moving 1 kilometer away in a matter of milliseconds. So what I did was, obviously I was not happy with my mother's response, so I went to my cousin. She lived not next door, like 3 houses away, but same neighborhood. And I told about the voices, I told her about my mom's explanation, and she was like, yeah, no honey, that's not true. Like, they're not dogs. Think of it like, if more than one dog will be calling out for a partner during mating season, they would not do that together, because then they will fight over who gets to be with a female dog, right? Doesn't make sense. So also, she told me that she also heard the voices. So I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the only one who heard the voices. But at this point, I started getting scared, because obviously it's not the most normal thing, right? She told me she heard the voices, and she also was scared, but don't think about it that much. Maybe they'll just go away. And that night, again, I heard the voices. Obviously, at this point, like I said, I was scared. I was a little kid. Obviously, I was scared. So I did what I was taught to do every time I was scared, and that was pray. Even now as an adult, it's basically what I do when I'm scared. I think it was like around 3 a.m. at this point. I heard the voices, and immediately I started praying. And probably I prayed more than 30 minutes until I heard the voices leaving. Like, I literally started hearing them like they were moving. At some point I didn't hear them anymore, and I didn't hear them again, almost never again. When I was 15, I moved out of that house, and that house was destroyed in 2019 because of an earthquake. So my family had to build another house. In 2015, like I said, I moved to Italy, and I've been living here ever since. And I used to go to Albania like a bunch of other times, but it was I never heard the voices again, right? Until last year. Last year, I decided to go back to Albania for the vacations during summer, like 2 weeks or something during August. And like I said, my family kind of had to separate. It's like my mom lived in Italy with my siblings and me because we needed help, and my dad stayed in Albania so he can take care of the house. At this point, the house was built, but they didn't complete everything. Like the house had windows. My dad did everything in his power to make at least a room livable so me and my mom could sleep in. He had improvised like a little room outside, and he stayed there. But obviously when we went there, he slept in the house with us. The house had no doors. Like even the front door, there was no door. It was an opening. Thank God it was summer, so it was not cold. And we slept in that house for 2 weeks without doors. My dad had this wooden thing that would put on top of it just to like, I don't know, I don't even know why he did it. Like probably to be safer mentally, but obviously if someone wanted to enter the house, they could have done it easily. But there was a reason why no one entered the house. And the reason is these two beautiful dogs. Now these dogs, keep in mind this is in a village in Albania where no one keeps dogs as pets inside the house. Usually they keep them outside. They probably built like a little place for them, but it was summer, so they didn't even need it at this point. And these are not my dad's dogs. These were stray dogs. They used to stay with a neighbor, and he moved away and left them behind. And my dad felt bad, so he started feeding them. For this reason, or maybe there's a divine reason, these dogs started going to my dad's house all the time. It's like they developed this type of, I don't know, like protectiveness towards my dad. My dad tells me that they stayed with my dad for a lot of time, especially during the time that the house had no doors. Especially during that time, the dogs used to sleep and just stay in the backyard or in the front yard, but always inside the property. And my dad used to tell me that people were terrified, like neighbors or even my uncles. Sometimes they would just, go on their way and want to peek inside of the house to see if my dad was there, and the dogs would just start barking like crazy, and they would be terrified. Literally, when I went this year, my uncle came to visit, and he was like, "Can you please make sure that the dog is not here, because I'm scared." Like my uncle is in his 60s at this point, and he was terrified of these dogs. But they never barked at my dad. They were super nice to my dad. Another weird thing that happened, they knew my mom, so obviously they didn't bark at my mom, but they had never seen me. And the crazy thing is, when I went there, they didn't bark at me at all. Actually, they were so friendly to me. There was a female dog and the male dog. The male dog didn't really trust me, but like he would play sometimes, but like he would run away every time I wanted to pet him. The female dog would let me pet her, and she was so sweet. She wouldn't move away at all. And anyways, the dogs are kind of important to make sure that you understand the story. So this is why probably we didn't feel unsafe while sleeping without doors in this house, because the dogs were there to protect us. They wouldn't allow anyone, any stranger, to enter the house anyway, so they were there. They would do some creepy stuff sometimes. Like I remember them just, we would be, during the evening, we loved, staying outside in the front yard, maybe drinking something with my mom and dad. And the dogs would just lay there, but at some point they would just both get up and go to a part of the house and like just start staring at the wall. And my mom would be like I said, my mom loves to tell me that things like this are not real. But my mom would be like, "Oh, maybe they're just looking at a little animal like a mouse or something." And I would be like, "Mom, there's no mouse at 2 feet high. They're just staring at a wall, so they're definitely seeing something that we don't see." But I have had so many scary experiences at this point, so I'm not that scared anymore. So I wasn't scared at all, but I was prepared this time. In my head, I felt like I would get evidence of what happened when I was a kid. I wanted proof that those voices were real and I wasn't crazy. So I was always on my phone, obviously, all the time. And one evening, mom and dad, they were not staying there. They were in that little room that my dad had improvised. Yeah, they were there. My dad turned that into a kitchen, actually. And I was in the house. And right there, I had my phone. And I was just laying there, I wasn't even thinking about it. And at some point, I hear the dogs go crazy. They were in the front yard. They just ran in the backyard and started barking like crazy. And I hear it. I heard the same screams that I used to hear, but this time it was only one. Obviously, I had my phone with me, so I was able to record it. So this is what I recorded. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna sit here and try to convince people that these are ghosts or any paranormal stuff. Like, I hope they're not. I really hope these are animals. Actually, during my research, at some point, I did believe that these were, what's it called? Foxes. Because I heard the screams, the way that the foxes scream, and yes, sometimes they do sound similar. Also, something weird happened. And also, we do have foxes in the area. We don't have other types of animals in the area, like wolves or bears or anything like that. Keep in mind, this village is 20 minutes away from the seaside. So no, there's no wild animals. The funny thing is, the screams don't really sound the same through the phone. Actually, only the second scream sounds similar to the reality. In reality, all three of them sounded like the second one. And those are the same way it sounded when I was a kid and I heard them under my window. And yeah, I'm left at that. I don't know if they're wild animals, I don't know anything else, but something funny happened with the dogs. The dogs stopped staying at my dad's house the moment my dad put doors in it. It's like they sensed that my dad didn't need protection anymore. I don't know why. They didn't leave the neighborhood. My dad still sees them sometimes, but they don't stay at my dad's house anymore. I don't know where they're staying, but yeah, they don't go there anymore. But my dad sees them every time around there. And this was the story that I had prepared for you today. I really hope you enjoyed it.